Hey everyone, I'm making this to address the fact that my video productivity has gone down completely. My average for a while was like one video a week, but these days it's more like one video per month. And I feel terrible about this because I love making videos for you guys and I know how much my videos impact some of you. And also many of you support me, and so I feel bad not being able to put videos out. And the main reason I've been struggling to keep making videos is honestly because of a lack of motivation. I haven't been feeling super well spiritually these days, and it's been really hard to muster up the effort to actually make a video, which involves a few different things, including writing and recording and editing, but it's really the writing stage that I'm getting stuck at, and I just don't feel that motivation to write something, even though I do have a bunch of different topics that I could potentially discuss. In fact, I've actually gone through the process of making several videos only to end up deleting them because I thought that nobody would be interested or that they weren't particularly interesting. And I noticed that this is leading to this cycle where my skills are becoming atrophied. I don't feel like my ability to write is as strong as it used to be, and even my ability to speak articulately seems to be diminished. And this is because I'm not actually practicing. And that makes it harder to motivate myself because I notice that my skills are diminishing. And it leads to this cycle where because I'm not motivated to make a video, my skills end up being atrophied even more, which makes it harder to motivate me to make a video. And a part of me does feel like making these videos is kind of pointless, just given how much content is pushed out on the internet every second. And they're all competing for your attention. And so it feels like with just so much content out there, why would people watch my videos, which are relatively low quality by comparison? I've seen some amazing channels pop up that are very well produced, written, and presented. And whenever I see these, it makes me feel like there's no point of even trying because there's just so much better content out there, so what's the point? And I've also been dealing with a lot of conflicting emotions, and a lot of these kind of internal struggles make it hard for me to muster up the motivation to be able to write videos and edit them. One thing in particular has been really sapping my ability to put effort into these videos because my goal is to make people better informed about their own minds, but I keep encountering situations which make it feel like that's a completely futile goal. Sorry if what I'm about to say seems ranty, but I feel like I keep encountering people whose opinions I completely disagree with, and yet I don't have it in me to put up a fight and argue against them, even though I'm convinced that what they're saying is stupid and wrong. Because it feels like in order to get my point across, I would need like a 30-minute lecture in order to explain all of the nuances of my position, which allows me to embed my argument in the context in which it belongs. Because it's just so much easier to give an uninformed take while being ignorant of all the evidence which contradicts what you're saying. Ignorance really is bliss, and I feel that a lot of opinions are formed out of ignorance of anything which suggests otherwise. If you just kind of narrow your view of things, it becomes very easy to convince yourself of the truth, when in reality, the world is just so much more complicated. Ignorance really is bliss. And you can actually make a very convincing argument in favor of a position so long as you remain ignorant of all the evidence which suggests that that's either wrong or oversimplifying. And I keep encountering people who have a very different spirit than me because I feel like, and I might be wrong because I might also have unconscious ideological motivations, but I feel like I keep encountering people who have already decided what the truth is and then selectively seek information to confirm what they believe. It's hard to find people who are just genuinely after the truth, who genuinely want to know what the world is like, rather than just confirming their ideology. And one of the things that also really bothers me is the fact that so many people think they're really smart because they grasp really simple ideas. And that sense of graspability can give someone the illusion that they understand something well, when in reality they only understand it at a surface level, because true understanding takes effort. And I feel like the fact that I keep exposing myself to new philosophies, new areas of study, it just makes me realize that the sheer complexity of existence is not for the human mind to comprehend. It also makes it hard for me to say anything because I realize that everything I say is basically an oversimplification. It's very similar to the sentiment expressed by Wittgenstein, where he says, "Whereof one cannot speak, one must remain silent." And yet the sense of certainty produced by being able to grasp really simple ideas gives people this sense of confidence, which I don't think is really well earned. And it really reminds me of the quote by Charles Bukowski: "The problem with the world is that the intelligent people are full of doubts, while the stupid ones are full of confidence." And of course, there's a reason why people latch on to simple statements that aren't thorough or nuanced. And it's because of the fact that they're easy to grasp and understand, and it's very attractive because it can give you this false sense that you understand something really deep. Whereas something that's complicated and very nuanced is very hard to understand, and so it can be kind of a struggle to actually approach it. And that's one of my complaints about people like Russell Brand. Sorry if there's any Russell Brand fans, but I noticed that he just has really simple things and the audience just roars. And they roar because it just takes no effort to understand it. Like imagine if I just stood in front of the camera and said, "The government is authoritarian." Oh my god, he's a genius. That's so smart. This man speaks the truth. Or what if I just said, "The media is propaganda. Wow, what an original take! That's such a fresh perspective. I've never heard of that. Wow. Meanwhile, a thinker or philosopher who has something original to say, but which is hard to understand, gets little recognition because the argument they're making isn't easy to grasp, even if it's more enriching and better able to grapple with the fact that the universe is a confusing place, that things are ambiguous. Again, people don't want to accept complexity. They want to feel like they've understood something clearly, but that sense of clarity always comes with the fact that we're kind of schematizing things. Schematizing. What I'm trying to say is that we're basically making a map of reality, and being able to see this map clearly gives us the impression that we understood something really well, when in reality it's probably a lot more nuanced and complicated. And it's annoying when people keep oversimplifying things like that. Heraclitus once said, "Those who seek gold dig much earth and find little." And that's how knowledge should be. It should take a lot of effort to acquire it. But because that's hard, we seek knowledge that's simple, but ultimately not illuminating of the true complexity of things. People prefer simplicity because complex things are hard to grasp, and it's kind of cognitively taxing to try and understand them. And so it's pretty understandable. But as someone who's trying to explain things that aren't easy to understand, it's really frustrating when someone thinks they're a genius for being able to grasp something that takes no effort to grasp whatsoever. And another thing that I find very conflicting within myself is that I feel like I keep encountering very stupid people, but as someone who's training to be a therapist, I need to be open and receptive to people and not judge them, even though I'm thinking internally, how the hell do you actually believe that? And so one of the things that makes it hard for me to speak openly is the fact that I've reached this sense of uncertainty about something. I feel like everything I say needs to have asterisks because 1, not everything is true in every context, and 2, I don't know with 100% certainty if the things I'm saying are totally accurate. And so I keep encountering people who are just total absolutists. They believe what they believe and they think that what they know is the truth. Very oftentimes not realizing the difference between fact and opinion, but it's also just that sense of complete certainty that really bothers me. Like, really? You're that sure that you're right about that? No room for ambiguity or nuance? And it's really annoying that people who feel like they're absolutely certain are usually the loudest. Extremism is usually characterized by an absolute sense of certainty in the rightness of your position. Again, a person who's after the mere truth would probably not become an extremist, but somebody who decides what the truth is and then looks at the world through that lens will be way more rigid about their beliefs. For a while now, I've been driven by really trying to understand the world. I wanted to feel like a citizen of the world and feel like this place is my home and that I know it intimately. But the more I know about the way things are, the more I begin to understand the scope of the unknown. For example, the more I study history and engage with it and absorb it, the more I realize that the scope of history is just so vast for any one mind to comprehend. And yet somebody who has a surface level of things can easily convince themselves that they're in possession of like this great knowledge. I do have a lot to rant about, and I'm not like fully done articulating all the things that have been conflicting me. I do feel quite sad about the general state of the world, and I have a lot to say about it, but it's just so hard for me to be able to kind of muster up the energy to say it, even though I know that a lot of people do want to hear what I have to say. I have a lot of comments about the state of the world and the state of geopolitics and the state of just regular politics at the local level, and the way society is changing and the dramatic shifts in society and the fact that like a revolution happens every minute, as well as about the kind of spiritual sickness that's permeating society that I see. So I definitely want to talk about all of this, and I'm really sorry that I haven't so far, but I plan to from now on. And another thing that I've noticed that really annoys me is that people keep using this specific logical fallacy that's kind of hard to detect, and because it's hard to detect, it can give the impression that a person has a good point. For example, imagine a hypothetical scientific study that shows some particular result, and then I use this result in an argument. Somebody might say, well, how do you know that data is real? And how do you know those scientists weren't paid? And how do you know they just don't have an agenda? That can give the impression that that's a good point. I keep encountering people who think that's a good argument, but all that's really doing is just sowing doubt in the claim. It doesn't prove the opposite claim, and any idiot can just sow doubt in anything. But sowing doubt doesn't mean that the opposite true, nor does it prove that the original claim is false. And yet people seem so easily convinced by this. Like, what's going on? Now, how this relates to my lack of productivity is that I've realized that it takes no effort to have an unnuanced perspective. Well, it takes much more effort to acknowledge ambiguity. And it's that effort that makes me question what I'm doing, whether it's even worth it. Because I could just come here and say really simple things that people will eat up. But is that really helpful? Does that really help people understand the way things actually are and accept the ambiguities that exist in reality? No. But I realize now that it is worth it. That it is worth making these videos, even though they're challenging to make and difficult for people to comprehend. And so I still want to make videos, and I still want to challenge myself to talk about complicated stuff. And so that's why I'm going to try to commit to make more videos more frequently. I'm definitely planning on making some higher quality stuff in the future that's more kind of thought out and more planned, but I also want to make videos like this where I just kind of rant at the camera and talk about things that I find interesting. Because I do find a lot interesting and I do want to talk about it. And it's been kind of bothering me that I haven't been able to do that. So I hope it's okay if I just throw a few rants on this channel. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good day, and may good luck always come your way.